Rolling. Got my headgear.
Put your headset on.
How's that?
Good. Pull your mic around.
Pull my mic around. Hello. Hello.
Hi. Can you hear yourself all right, or you want louder?
That's good.
Is that good right there?
That's wonderful.
You say wonderful like...
I was burping. I'm saying wonderful.
She puts on her makeup.
Did you miss me?
I did miss you.
I missed you, Travis.
Well, nobody misses me.
Well, I was trying to at least fake it.
Right. Oops, wrong way. There we go. All right, that's it. See you later, everybody.
Have a good one. We're done.
Thanks for coming out.
It was a good show.
It was all right. Not one of our best.
Now for something special. Unit is self-contained with its own saddler, farrier,
Okay, you ready?
wheelwright, and so on.
Yes.
All right.
It's a rigorous training dished on who know all there is to know about horses, and it brings results.
We take you behind the scenes now to show just some of the interesting aspects of this training.
Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine, the #1 podcast to create sound of horses from the ground up. Mike Stine is a registered journeyman farrier with an APF 1 accreditation. On this week's show, Mike comes back from the International Hoof Care Summit. He also performs out at the South Carolina Horse Expo. And we're going to talk about two case studies of a horse named Benji and a horse named Nutty. All this and much, much more will be discussed here on Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. And over to my far hand side is Mike Stine. How are you?
I'm doing good, Travis. How are you?
I haven't seen you in, it seems like ages. I haven't seen you.
It's been a while.
So we did our very first show and we said, okay, see you later, everybody. We'll be back in a week and a half or 2 weeks.
Yes,
And you took off and you did your Hoof Care Summit and your little expo thing. We'll dive in that here a little bit later on in the program, so stick around for that.
Right.
And then you came back and I said, well, Mike, I just got back from Long Island. As you watch us here on the YouTube video, don't forget, for every podcast we do, we have a matching video over on YouTube. You can see Mike here in the studio waving to me waving to Mike as well. And I've got my Long Island shirt on.
You do.
And I said, well,
Are you moving up there?
No. It's too boring up there. I need more greenery around.
Okay.
And Long Island doesn't have enough greenery.
Well, down here we've got mold.
We do have mold, but
You get some green stuff from that.
that's the bad greenery.
Oh, okay.
And so on the way back, we flew back, and my wife got COVID.
Yes.
And so she tested, and she was miserable. So she tested, and I tested right after her. I didn't get it. I didn't have it, so I was fine. Now, I was a little congested, but I didn't test positive for COVID. Couple days go on and we're getting ready to jump back into the saddle, for lack of a better pun here,
right,
and start doing the show again. And I was like, man, I feel really achy, I feel really tired, and something just wasn't right. My wife was like, well, take another COVID test. I'm like, babe, I already took one. And I'm just like, I don't want to take it because I'm fearing the worst results. Sure enough, I take it. Bam, I've got it too. Doggone it. And you can probably hear this is remnants of it. This is what, 2.5 weeks ago now.
Yeah.
And I still got a little congestion and stuff. So I told Mike, I said, Mike, I don't think I'm contagious, because this is like...
You're contagious, but not because of COVID.
Exactly. I don't think I'm contagious because this is technically day 5 since my wife took the test, and I took the test for the first time. I don't think I'm contagious. I said, but it's totally up to you. And you said, well, Travis, I am running on all cylinders because you being at the Hoof Care Summit and doing all this other stuff, you were just like hitting the ground running. You have no time to breathe. And you said to me, which I completely understand, you said, I don't want to get anything to slow me down because I'm behind on my shoeing and everything.
Right. Yeah. As soon as I got out of the airplane, I hit the truck and was out the driveway and gone under horses the day I landed.
So, and you've been going nonstop. So now I'm better. So it's debatable. It's still debatable.
Yeah, but not because of the COVID.
Right. And now Mike has, he's caught up on all his horseshoeing and everything. No. And you're not caught up?
Near.
Are you really?
No.
But this is your time of year. This is the time where you shine because you got a whole bunch of, don't you have eventing horses and stuff?
Well, yeah, I had some horses that have made a trek down to Georgia, down to Florida. I think they're back to Aiken and back home, a few of them. Some of them are getting ready to go down to Aiken, and it's just extra horses in for the winter, and it's go, 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 go with those guys.
But normally your summertime is your slow time, I guess, is what normally happens, right? Spring, summertime?
August is usually about my slowest.
Okay, so like summer break for kids. You get summer break from the horses.
In the spring, I get a lot more vet calls. In the fall, I get a lot more vet calls. And then, in the winter, and sometimes a little bit of a breather is not bad. But you know me, I don't even have much of a breather really when it is slower.
And
slower's 5 and 6 days a week instead of 6 and 7.
Yeah. All right. So we got a lot to talk about. Mike just got back. Like he said, he flew in from the International Hoof Care Summit, and boy, are his paws tired.
That's right.
All right. We'll dive into that when we come back. So stick around. You listen to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. He'll be right back. Okay. Now that's out of the way. Opening segment done. Done stamp.
Right.
Oh, I got to fix your face over here.
Oh, my face is off. I hate when that happens.
Well, it's, we haven't squared up the video because I think it was still left from when we did the live with Hoof Doctor.
With Steve, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Ready?
And Steve was there.
Oh, was he? How was he doing?
Steve's doing okay.
Yeah? Did he have fun on the show?
I think he did, yes.
Okay, you ready?
Yes.
All right. Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. Don't forget to follow him. If you have any questions for Mike Stine, go over to equinedynamics.com at the top of the page. Wait, hold on. Let me figure this out because it's been a minute. So if you have any questions for Mike Stine, at the top of the page says contacts. Fill that little form out. There's a little drop-down menu. If you have any questions for Mike Stine, fill that out. Ask him a question, and we'll answer your question.
I have questions for me.
Do you?
Yes.
Okay, well, hold on. Let me get through this so everyone knows what's going on so they don't get lost. They haven't heard from us for a while. I'm trying to get back in the routine of what I have to say to the people so that they know exactly what's going on. And so go to the top of the page of equinedynamics.com. It says contact us. Fill out that little form there. Make sure you put a return address. We'll send you out some, we got some prize packs, some magnets, some stickers, and some swag, as Mike calls it, that he gave out at the International Hoof Care Summit where he just got back from. And over to my far right side is Mike Stine. How are you?
I'm doing okay, Travis.
So make sure you ask him a question over there, and we'll read it here on the air. So tell us about your trip. Why did you go to the International Hoof Care Summit? What number is this for you?
It's in, as far as this type of thing, it's in the numbers of a lot.
Okay, so but the Hoof Care Summit, what year does it say? Like the 82 annual International Hoof Care?
This was the 21st annual Hoof Care Summit.
Okay, so this is still a baby for the most part, being 20 years old.
It kind of came in the back doors of the Bluegrass Laminitis Symposium and kind of filled their spot as that faded out, I think. And I went to a number of bluegrass. I've been to quite a few of the Hoof Care Summits. I've spoke at the Hoof Care Summits. I did a couple of roundtable discussions this year at the Hoof Care Summit.
So why do they have an International Hoof Care Summit? What is the main goal of having all these farriers and professional? I'm sure there's vets out there, there's techs out there, there's a whole bunch of stuff.
There's a lot of farriers. There's a lot of new products that have hit the market.
Now, is this open to anyone?
You could go if you wanted to.
Yeah, I could go. You're telling me.
Sure you could.
I don't think they want me there.
We want you there, Travis.
But, I mean, is it open? I mean, do they, like, advertise it in the local paper or the local radio station? Hey, come down to the International Hoof Care Summit. Bring the little kiddies. There's, farm games and rides and stuff. But is it like that? Or, no, this is strictly like...
You could run the farm games and rides. This is a function of the American Farriers Journal. As you know, I had to go in early because of IAPF board meetings. They were on the Monday, and we had a few other meetings in there, set up in the marketplace. Talked to a lot of people. There are some of the best lectures you'll find anywhere having to do with hoof care. And it's like one of my apprentices last year, should I go to every lecture? And I'm like, for starters, that's impossible. Because there could be, I don't know, a dozen lectures going at a time, give or take. And it's 4 days of lectures, demos, you name it. marketplace. They've got a huge marketplace, 400 and some odd vendors. The newest products on the market. You get to see what's being dreamed up.
What was the coolest thing that you saw, like when you went to the Hoof Care Summit, the new products that are coming out that really sparked your interest as far as like, hey, I really could use that, or I don't see a need for that? You know, I mean, they're not sponsors of the show, so by any means, you can rip them apart or say, hey, they're a great product. So what are some of the things that you saw that you think is going to be starting to work into the back of your rigs or farriers' rigs out there?
Well, I don't think there's any room in the back of my rig.
You have to get rid of something.
And
with the old.
And most everything I've got doubles and triples of. But yeah, there were some of the urethane shoes that have come out, some new designs. There are always something. One of the neatest things to look at I saw was they had a forge in there that was had two doors, one on the front, one in back, and it was a large forge
that mounts to your truck, or this
you could put it in your truck, but it would fill up a good bit. And they said it was built for farrier schools.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of times they hooked them to natural gas, and then you could have the forge going, and you could have, a lot of times they may have two students working out of a forge. And this way, if you were doing two students out of a forge door, you could have 4 students working out of it at the same time.
So, not to pick on you, Mike,
or you could do other stuff with it.
Not to pick
the blacksmith shop. Go ahead.
Not to pick on the blacksmith, not to pick on you, but for you to say that the newest thing to come out is a 2-sided forge as to a 1-sided forge. I mean, I would think that would be like we come across that bridge a long time ago. Hey. Can't we just cut a hole in the back and start using the other side of this thing?
Yeah, well,
I mean, the evolution of the way products are made and everything. You would have think that cutting the hole in the back of the other side of the forge would have come before the urethane shoes or something.
Oh, there are other forges that you can go in other sides, and these good old fashioned coal and coke forges. You can put about whatever you want to in there, depending on how they're built. But I just thought that was interesting that the injectors were a little different than what I've seen before. And not something I will get because I've got I can't say. In good repair, different states to repair 5 or 6 propane forges at this point. You want one?
No.
I need to clear the house a little bit.
What would I use a forge for?
Cooking hot dogs.
Wouldn't it taste funny though?
No. I've had kids come out and cook hot dogs on my forge before.
Have you really?
Oh yeah, I was at a barn. A bunch of them were talking about it, and I said something, made a comment as I do. And so next time I came up there, they had marshmallows and hot dogs, and I opened up the door and they stuck them in there. I had a long stick and let them stick them in there. Kept them out of the way. I didn't want to burn or anything, but it just charred the outside of the hot dog, and it did it so fast the inside was still cold.
That's what I was saying. They would just totally turn that thing into a crisp.
Some people like crispy hot dogs.
Oh, my wife likes them. So what was the biggest takeaway when you were at the Hoof Care Summit? Now, the Hoof Care Summit was 4 days, and where was it at? Was it located in?
It was in Cincinnati.
Okay.
It's been there for 21 years. Next year, I think it's going to be in Kansas City, Missouri.
And why are they moving it? Just because?
A remodel job.
Okay.
And I found it interesting. What I was told is for the density of farriers, part of the reason it was there, within a 300-mile radius, you have the highest density of farriers anywhere in the country. But it's a big population area. People think about farriers out in the middle of Wyoming. Well, stuff's so spread out. There's probably not as many horses and around the city of Charlotte. The ring around, you go outside and there's a ring of boarding barns.
Well, I mean, that's why we ended up where we're at right here in Marshville. We wanted a house. We wanted a nice house, a modest home, and property to have horses on it. Well, you take, that and you stick it in the middle of Charlotte, you're looking at like a $3.5 million house.
Right.
Well, I don't have Mike Stine money.
Well,
so,
I don't either.
So we took that money and moved, 45 miles east of Charlotte and found a nice house that we have, a modest home that we can have, and not $3.2 million. So, I mean, yeah, you're right. There is this big ring.
People want to have a good paying job. And if they have a good paying job and they need something for recreation, and there you go.
So what was one of the biggest takeaways that you had at the Hoof Care Summit? Like, what's the thing you're like, I didn't know that. I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna learn. Or what did you teach someone that hopefully that'll rub off on them as well?
Well, in the discussion groups I was in, hopefully it brought up some good things. But I'll tell you, really, the one thing that impressed me, and I did not get to go to a lot of talks because I was involved with a lot of association stuff,
behind the scenes
stuff. And we were educational partners, so we were busy and we were involved in a lot. So, but I did make it to one of the clinics, and I'm gonna try to get this fellow on if we can.
Okay.
Just something we got to figure out how to do. Laverne Mass.
And what does Laverne Mass do?
Laverne Mass is an Amish Farrier. And his shop, they do road horses.
Oh, so that's why you were saying, how are we going to get him on the show? Amish people really don't have like Wi-Fi internet connection or anything like that.
Well, he does have a telephone in the shop. Some of them do.
Okay.
So we can work that way.
Okay.
And get him to commit to. And he did an excellent job. He had somebody else work on putting together the program for it. And he said, man, I was scared to death. And I've talked to Laverne. One thing with helping out injured farrier up that way. And the other thing is I've got a horse that was a driving horse for 12 years that now they've decided needs to be a dressage horse, and it's doing some things a little different in the gate than what I'm used to looking at doing. And it's something that is fairly typical with dressage. When I get where I can talk, driving horses. And if I'm going to ask questions about driving horses, why not go to one of the best I know and one of the best?
So with being an Amish Farrier, now, they only have so much technology. Like they don't have a gas-powered or a petroleum-based car. They don't have a car. They don't have anything like that. They run horse and buggies for the most part, right? Am I correct by saying that? So when you talk about an Amish Farrier, does an Amish Farrier still follow the rules of the Amish community? Do they you were talking about the two-sided forge. Do they have a forge like that, or are they physically running wood and coal to heat up their blacksmith shop or to heat up their forge rather than, the propane jets and the regulators and all that, copper tubing and everything that like the forge on the back of your truck?
Well, see, I've not gotten into that one with him.
Because that would be interesting. I mean, what are your challenges? Because technology.
Well, if we get him on here, we can ask him, right?
Get him on the phone, Mike.
Right. But I know that some of the Amish Farriers do use acetylene torches, and I know that they did a deal with.
Do they look down upon them? I guess these are questions that we're gonna have to ask Laverne.
I don't know,
Laverne.
But don't discount these guys. They do. They have their rules they live by, but they're also very innovative. And is coming out, and they're, as far as the farrier education stuff, as far as the accreditations and all that, these Amish farriers are jumping on it hard. They're doing their homework, they're working, they're advancing, and it's like one of the guys said, boy, the way they're going, yes, we use a lot of technology they typically don't, but hands-on skills, they've got a lot of hands-on skills, and they're thinking, and they're putting their heads together, and it's really stepping the game up.
If you had an Amish Farrier who's been doing it for, let's say, 10 years, and you have a regular Farrier who's been in the business, for 20 some odd years, I would almost, any kind of techniques and stuff like that, I would almost lean towards the Amish Farrier, because technically he's the scientist, the transportation scientist of his community,
right?
To figure out how to, to get the horses right. He's got more.
Well, their horses are very, very important, and longevity of their horses are very, very important. And it's like, his deal is road horses. My deal is much more on the eventer or dressage side. And so we're kind of doing a totally different thing.
Yeah.
And that's why when I had a horse that had been an ex-driving horse, and I was like, that's kind of an odd gait pattern. It's not something that I'm used to dealing with. And, there's certain things I can look at an event horse and make click, 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 make an adjustment, boom, go. And so I called and I asked, and it was very helpful far as that goes. And I hope, like I say, I hope to get him on the show, and he did an excellent presentation. And he says, I was scared to death. I mean, he handled it like a pro.
Well, good. We look forward to having him on the program as well. All right, guys, stick around when we come back. Mike hit the ground from his flight, turned around, jumped on another flight, and ended up in South Carolina at the Horse Expo, where he performed as well. So stick around. You're listening to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. He'll be right back.
Yes.
Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. Don't forget, for every podcast we do, we have a matching video, and you can see all these pictures and stuff. We have some X-rays coming up of a horse named Benji and a horse named Nutty. Now, we talked about Benji here in the past couple shows. We have a couple updates and some
Benji or Nutty?
Both. I think we've talked about both of them, haven't we?
Benji is the one that was the first time I've ever touched this horse.
Okay, so we're going to
talk about a lot of horses. we named one Benji once it came here.
We're going to talk about Benji, a brand new horse, a little bit later on, and a horse that we have talked about named Nutty.
Right.
Now, Mike, you came back from the International Hoof Care Summit. Now, did you eat a lot while you're out there? I always ask you that. What was the biggest, like the one with the best food that you had when you were out there? Because I'm always jealous. I always see pictures of your lunch when you're out there.
Right. I ate breakfast primarily at the motel. That was the convention motel. So that was probably the expensive meal of the day. And
because, I think Horse Care Summit, I just think good cooking out there.
Yeah, there was some good food. Tried not to go over the edge too much on that, but it happens, right?
Well, that's right. So you flew back into town, then turned around.
And boy, were my arms tired.
Turned around, got on your other private jet, and you ended up in South Carolina at the Horse Expo, not to be confused with the Hoof Care Summit. Now, tell us how you got involved with the South Carolina Horse Expo and what you ended up doing there.
In past history, it's been a while, but I've done a few presentations for them over the years. Done it down at Clemson. This was done at the South Carolina Equestrian Center down there below Camden. And I was asked to do a presentation on evaluating the horse. And so we put together a little more towards horse owners than what I do when I work with farrier groups.
Now, I saw some of the pictures that you posted over on Facebook, and if you want to see those pictures as well, go to Facebook, search Equine Dynamics Mike Stine, and you can see you had a nice little blazer on. You had your little Indiana Jones type felt hat on.
Indiana Jones hat on, yes.
Yeah, and you're out there talking to a whole bunch of people. So tell us what the takeaway was on what you were talking about. You said you were talking to the horse owners and stuff. How was the response as far as listening to a farrier, and what was their reaction to that?
Well, and there were a couple of lectures going on in a couple different places, but I actually got a standing ovation. Actually, it wasn't a standing ovation. They clapped.
Well, you can say standing. Two people stood up. That's a standing ovation.
Well, clapping means they threw stuff at me. But anyway.
Well, if they're clapping their hands, they can't throw stuff at you.
No, actually, it was well received. Had a few good questions. And I kind of started off was really getting into, the thinking pattern when you're paying attention to the horse's body and cause and effects, and how that affects feet, and the whole gist of how many things cause interference. But I kind of started off with the whole engine light thing, and that's something have started going more towards with horse owners is the engine light. Mm-hmm. You understand that, right?
When an engine light comes on, something's not right
going on.
Yep.
And the horse is throwing a lot of engine lights at you. If you got a horse that is atrophying, as far as muscle atrophy, you end up with atrophy on one side, overdeveloped on the other side. You have muscles that are knotting up. You have horse that's starting to hollow out behind the wither, starting to sag its back. Watch what the muscling's doing. But, and part of the point is this, when you bring a horse in for me to take a look at, and I get the whole rundown on what the horse has been doing, how he's been engaged in all this as we go. Is he getting better? Is he getting worse? Oh, yes, he's whatever. But then I take a quick look at the horse. And, Brent, going back to Ray Morrison, all the body work we did, and Caldwell, and the stuff I did with him, with the chiropractics that he did, and get my hands in that. It's like, okay, I can see, yes, your horse is not moving like you think. But I'm going to have to make adjustments on what the horse is telling me. And most of my information is coming from the horse's body. They want to send you pictures of the horse and send you pictures of the feet. And I'm like, I need to see what's going on. but we sent you pictures of the feet. I need to see why the feet are doing what they're doing.
Right. You need a moving picture.
So there's your engine light is when something is going into a not necessarily good pattern because we start losing muscle mass, or we start losing movement pattern, we start losing muscle mass, we start losing performance. And then later on, it becomes a lameness. What if we way back here when something started changing a little bit, we made an adjustment and got ahead of it, and we have a horse that is retired because of old age, not unsoundness.
That's kind of like those people out there when the engine light comes on, they disconnect the battery, wait 4 or 5 minutes, and then connect the battery, and for whatever reason, that code has been cleared, but the problem is still there.
Oh, I just take a piece of electrical tape, put it over top of mine, and it's not there anymore. It's like I say, I saw the engine light coming, opened the hood, and it was there.
Right. So out of all the thousands of people that you talked to at the Horse Expo in South Carolina, what was the one question did you have that one question where someone stumped you and you're like going, you know what? That's a very good different look on something. Let me do some research and get back to you on that. Did you have any of those type questions?
I have at times had some questions where I'm not going to fake it on something like that.
No, because
that always
it's too valuable to.
It's too valuable to, and maybe it's something I need to learn. And there's plenty of these things where I've gone and done discussions where I walked out with somebody taught me something in my discussion. Believe me. And
does anything like stick out on you when you were doing your presentation at the South Carolina Horse Show? Anything stick out? I
didn't have anything that really jumped out this time, but I have had plenty of them where I said I need to step back and rethink that. And if it's a question that they did throw at me like that, I need to go figure it out. So next time I will know. So they give me homework to go do, right?
That's good. That's continuing education. And I know I'm stuck on the food thing. I think of the International Hoof Care Summit as a lot of barbecue ribs and pork and beans and all that stuff. For some reason at the Horse Expo, I just think like hot dogs and hamburgers. I mean,
hot dogs, hamburgers. They had the taco truck there.
Did they really? See, I knew it.
They had the little the kitchen at the park. And they had at least
like a cafeteria type thing.
They had a cafeteria, and then they had food truck alley.
Oh, so you had your fill there as well.
They had taco and hot dog wars. Well, they were throwing them at each other.
All right, so you've done the Hoof Care Summit up in Cincinnati. Now you've done the South Carolina Horse Expo. Are you fulfilled? Do you have anything else coming up here soon, or are you just going back on the road and you're doing your horseshoe?
Of course, I've been talking with Purina,
right,
about doing a few clinics with Purina, which I've done in past history. I've done it with a few feed companies, and also we have talked with Dover Saddlery.
Okay, excellent, and they're doing all right over there.
Yeah.
Okay, well, good. All right, when we come back, we're going to dive into.
I'll tell you something remember our friends up there in Canada.
Yes.
You remember them?
The Hoof Doctor.
The Hoof Doctor. And what do they call it here?
Equine 1.
Equine 1, yes. I had a couple of cases that they gave me for samples of the hoof putty and the paint.
Mm-hmm.
And, that there were people there that knew about the company, and they gave it to me as giveaways, and people were very happy with that. And there were 2 cases of I had like 24 hoof paints and about 24 of the hoof putties, and they're like, "This works on thrush." I'm like, "Yeah, you can put it under a pad with thrush and pack it in there. Put a pad on top of it. It will clean it up." In my experience,
so well received.
Well received, yes.
And I'm sure you probably brought new people who weren't aware of this. Oh, I've been using grandma's whatever that they've always had in the shop.
Yeah, there's a number of them. They're like, "What is this?"
Mm-hmm.
It's an all natural hoof oil and all natural hoof packing.
And you talked to them about it, and they were
right,
and they went away sold, hopefully, on it.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's very good stuff.
It is very good stuff. All right, when we come back,
you can use it to fix your hair.
I know. What's wrong with my hair, Mike?
Nothing.
I got a complex. Don't.
I didn't say anything.
I got this little curl right here I can't get rid of. I got that Superman curl in the front. All right, guys, stick around. When we come back, we're going to dive into these 2 case studies. So if you're not watching this over on YouTube, now's a great chance to go over there. You're going to see all these x-rays that Mike has received from a horse named Benji and also a horse named Nutty. So we'll dive into those stories, those case studies when we come back. Stick around. You're listening to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. He'll be right back. Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. If you'd like Mike Stine to perform a clinic out at your location, the way you get a hold of him is to go to equinedynamics.com. At the top of the page says clinics. Fill out that little form. Mike will schedule you in there. Or if you'd like the Equine Dynamics podcast to broadcast out at your location, we can do that as well. I think we're going to be set up over, you were talking about Dover Saddlery earlier.
Yep.
We're going to set up there when their season starts getting in full effect, and we'll go out there and we'll let you know where you can come out and see us. And if you come out and see us, we'll give you a bunch of prize packs and stuff. And over to my far inside is Mike Stine. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful, Travis.
Is it good to be home, or you're just like, oh, I enjoyed my little vacation on the 2-week road trip that I was on?
Well, it wasn't completely 2 weeks, but I have not come up for air since I hit the ground, and I will head out of here, be under horses straight through the weekend, and trying to get things taken care of because horses are hitting trailers and going places and coming back and competing and all that.
And I apologize because we were supposed to take a 2-week break off and it ended up being just a little bit longer than 2 weeks because of me and my stupid COVID, quote unquote COVID that I got. But so now we're back in the saddle again, and we're hitting it full steam for season 8. So make sure you follow us and subscribe on your YouTube channels and your iHeart or Spotify, wherever you listen to Equine Dynamics. Now, Mike, we're going to dive into these pictures here. So let me switch screens so we can see it. And we can all be friends. So let's
be friendly. Let's be friendly.
We're going to talk about this horse here. Now, this horse is Benji, I believe. Is this Benji?
I think this is the one you called Nutty.
No, this is
Or is it Benji?
This
Let's
is
call
Benji.
this one Benji.
This is Benji. So what are we looking at here on this X-ray?
This is an X-ray of a foot.
Right.
And if you slide it up, there you go. If you look right at the tip of that coffin bone, right there, it's really, really close to the ground, right?
Oh, is this the one that was almost poking through the bottom?
Coming real close. The sole had started to rupture a little bit.
Okay.
And, of course, the horse was lame. And if you look at the toe, there's a little bit of rotation in there. And that area, if you follow it up, you can see the tracks going up the wall where it's got some white line going up the wall. Now, this horse I saw, 3.5 months before the last x-rays. I ran some red and ultimates on it. And we got him pretty happy pretty quick. And then one time in between, I went out and we took the ultimates off, and I put him in a pad with a little bit of rubber under it, and a rocker shoe, one of those red and rockers, which I do that a lot on these because I go back to 1990-ish. Actually, 1990 was the first time I pulled in his driveway at Doc Redden's place.
Now, this X-ray has this number up here. It says 3.26 centimeters. Why are we noticing that? Why is this being marked on the?
I am not sure why that one was marked. It would have been nice if they had, if I wanted the measurements on there, it would have been at the tip of the coffin bone to the ground. Go back to the back end of the coffin bone and go straight to the ground. You can see the wing of the coffin bone where it's back there. Pull that down to the ground. Mm-hmm. If you go to the front wall, so the tip of the coffin bone to the outside wall. Mm-hmm. Then you go up to the top of the coffin bone. Do you see right where the straight stops and it starts to turn? Down a little bit.
Oh, right there.
Right there. That's straight out to the wall. And then up at the top point of the coffin bone, you see where the hoof and the hair comes together up top?
Yes.
Go straight up
to
that and make those measurements. And that would give us a baseline on a few things, how much inflammation we've had, and it pushes the foot back. When you get inflammation between the wall and the lamina expands, and also from that coronary band down to that extensor process, you keep monitoring that because that's how you measure if a horse is sinking. And, of course, our sole depth. See how much real estate we've got between the coffin bone and the ground.
Now, when the vet took these x-rays, why wouldn't the vet make those measurements if that's what you were needing, the measurements for? I mean, the 3.62 centimeters, I don't know what that's about up there because you're not even dealing with anything up top there. You would technically need those measurements. Is that something as a horse owner, trainer, or when you're having x-rays done, is that something you need to ask for? Or do they have the capability of physically taking a snap grid line and measuring that?
They made the measurement up top. So, yes, there's capabilities that are doing it.
Right. I guess my question is, why wasn't it done here?
Why wasn't it done? Honestly, it's not done a lot.
Okay. But this is something...
It's a time, it's a step.
Maybe
how much training has a vet had on actual podiatry problems?
And maybe this could be a topic that you bring up to the next Hoof Care Summit. Hey, vet guys, to help us out.
Oh, believe me, this topic has been brought up many times, and it was brought up at the hoof at South Carolina. We had Megan Rackin from up in Raleigh, and she did a thing on X-rays and on venograms, and she trained with Dr. Redden, and she had all that up there.
So that would be beneficial if you're all right. So this is the next picture of Benji.
Right. That's right before the last time, or right before the first time I saw him. And you can see down there across the sole, you see that little tiny bubble there? Right there.
This is the bubble horse where I thought it was a nail.
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
starting to lose some serum out there, and later on you could see. I mean, you can almost see the outline of that coffin bone in the bottom of that hoof.
Yeah,
and as we took the horse's foot out the first time, there was a little bit of a false bottom where it started separating there. And here we are.
So this is Benji.
This is Benji.
He looks like. Look how much different that coffin bone is away from the sole of that foot.
Right there. I think we were like 17, 18 mils when we measured it, but I did not get the one with the measurement sent to me. And, okay, I removed what I had on the horse's foot, and here we are, and this is 3.5 months later. So
he's grown some foot underneath.
We've grown close to a millimeter a week in sole there, and there you go.
So my question,
we're not done with him yet, but there you go.
Right.
We dug out the white line area so you could see that on the front.
So, he went from this picture right here where there's barely a millimeter of sole underneath that coffin bone, and this is his foot. So he didn't have any shoes on. He's just been walking barefoot for God knows how long, and whatever problem he has was not being taken care of or adjusted. What was his horse's job? I always ask what the horse's job was.
His job is he is a lawn ornament.
Okay. So even your lawn ornaments.
Right. And he's also got some metabolic problems that have crept up.
Okay.
And so that is being taken care of. The vet's taking care of that. By the time he had no sole depth under it, he'd popped a heavy pulse and all that sort of deal in that earlier picture, right?
Right. And now we've got this.
And we are losing depth of sole.
And now look at, that to me looks like a good recovery horse hoof right there.
Right. We're not to where we want to be yet. But that's plenty of foot under him.
All right. Now we're going to dive into Nutty. Now this is Nutty.
That is Nutty.
Oh, let me make sure I got the right picture up. This is Nutty. Now, Nutty, this is all 4 pictures from the front. Now, don't forget, make sure you're watching this over on the YouTube video as well, and you can see these as we're talking about them here on the show. So this is Nutty.
Right.
And Nutty looks like, is it just the way Nutty's standing where he's got that pigeon-toed? Or is that...
That's kind of nutty. It is kind of nutty. And you can see my little Farriers dolly back there.
Yep, that's you.
I'm going to remote control the car and drive it around. But yeah, the alignment from the front is not ideal. If you look into the knees, the alignment is not ideal.
Now, before we get started, again, what is Nutty's job? Because I see shoes almost all the way around.
Well, Nutty, this is just like I did go by and look at the horse. And when he came into the trainer, and they wanted, can you redo him? And I'm looking at his feet, and I'm like, yeah, and he's tiptoeing. You know what I mean?
I tiptoe a lot, but that's because it's late at night. I don't want to get in trouble.
Don't wake anybody up, yeah. But especially on that front that's turned in.
Okay, so let's go to the next picture here. Now, it looks like you got like some snot or something on it. What'd you do?
I got snot, yes. the foot, the soles were very reactive. I could get him to react with my thumbs. He's very thin hoof walled, and so this is the after the shoe job, and we'll go into that a little bit further.
Now, how old is Nutty, do you think?
Honestly, I want to say he's about, I want to say 8 sticks in my head, but most of them are 8, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, he's still
Your
young.
horse is still 8.
Yes, they're always 8 years old.
And the idea is for him to have a show career, because that's why he went to the trainer. And if you see the little blue in there.
I see that almost looks like he stuck like a Jolly Rancher in there.
I did stick a Jolly Rancher in there. That's some putty that I use. I cleaned it out. The horse had a little bit of fungus in that toe, so we're taking care of that. But no, what is on there is glued on because he was so sensitive to the sole that I mean, I could make him flinch with my thumbs. You need to put hoof testers on him, and they're like, "Can you do him?" Every time they nail shoes up on him, he gets really sore, and I'm like, "Yeah, I bet." So, and he's got very thin hoof walls, and the hoof walls were pretty had a lot of flex to them.
All right, so that is
the lateral shot on
Nutty.
On Nutty.
Yeah.
On your right side, I do believe.
I see he's got a big old...
turn around, then it's the left side.
I see he's got a big old heel coming off of the back of that shoe.
Right. Yeah, well, his heel is laying off the back, right? And if you look at, about the center of that foot you go up to the coronary band, come back to roughly about center, back some. A little bump forward, maybe.
Okay. Somewhere in here.
Somewhere in there, maybe a little bit forward of that, but drop your line straight down. There you go.
There.
Okay, you need to figure out, you can figure out through the bars where the widest part of the foot is, and go from there, and that's kind of a little closer to where the center of the load should be, which is stuck way out the front. Heels are pulled under, heels are collapsed. If you look at those horn tubules and the direction they're growing in,
they're kind of almost like a swoop, or not a spiral, but like a big dip.
They're growing at a real forward angle.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we can go to the next one.
So this is an X-ray.
That's a Nutty X-ray
of what we're looking at here in the picture. Mm-hmm. Now, it looks like his coffin bone is kind of pitched down a little bit, like it's kind of creeping over the edge.
Well, you know what is happening there? If you look at the long pastern, short pastern, and coffin bone, you start at the long pastern, which is there. Okay, if you draw a straight line down the middle of it and you go straight down to the bottom, well, down the center of the bone.
Oh, down the center. Okay.
Sorry. And go straight out.
Yeah, everything's off-centered.
Everything's off-centered. Everything is pulled forward. So the foot is pulled forward out from under the bone column. Your base support is out in front of the bone column. If you look at the bottom of that tip of that coffin bone to the back of the wing, down some, right in, up. Okay, that's the wing of the coffin bone there.
Okay.
That is a bit of that's a negative alignment, which means you're kind of squashing your lateral cartilages. And
is this crushing heels?
Oh yeah,
that's called crushing heels right there.
He's crushing his heels.
Okay,
so we had to get him happy. He's tiptoeing around, doesn't want to run, doesn't want to do nothing, and right now he's trotting around the pasture. Woohoo! I feel good. So these are not spotless as far as glues, and I chose not to clean up too much because the more you clean them up and you throw them out in mud, the less they're going to stay. And right now the environment over there is muddy, but I did a rocker format, and we raised the angle mechanically there, and the breakover is set way, he rolls across it. And these are also a soft aluminum, and in the heating process the temper's been taken out of them, which I want them to, because as he goes forward, if he's trying to come across that digging hard in that toe, he'll wear that off, and that leverage where he's picking up leverage on it will constantly adjust back. He'll kind of quit wearing it like where he likes it. So later in the shoeing period, he can work with it. This would be the other foot.
This is the other foot.
He's a little more upright.
And this one's just as bad.
Right. It's a pretty ugly X-ray. Yeah.
Now,
And there again, that's not showroom purdy. We could have polished it up more. But there again, with him going out into the mud, we don't want to tamper with that glue but so much. If it was a dry environment, I might have cleaned that up a lot more.
Now, they wanted this horse to be a show horse.
Right.
Okay, when you say show horse, like what eventing, jumping, or hunting, jumpers, dressage, did they tell you what style of riding that this horse was going to be into? Because I would think with these feet and the way that the heels have been crushed, I wouldn't think of any jumping at all because you don't want that impact, that constant.
Right now, I wouldn't think that, but he's also with a dressage trainer.
Okay.
And like I say, if you're looking for showroom finish, that's not. But on the other end, he's trotting around out in the field, and I did a very similar thing with the back end because the the X-rays on the back end were just as ugly as the front ones.
So here's a thought that I had. My wife, the reason why we went from Dominique to Diego,
right,
is because Dominique had just a small little issue that wasn't going to allow my wife to advance further in her training level for dressage.
Correct.
So when you have a horse like this, and you as a rider are trying to ride and trying to perfect your style and trying to perfect your balance and your movement and stuff, and you're riding a horse essentially that has 3 flat tires.
Four.
4 flat tires. I mean, I can see the frustration in a rider and a trainer, but not understanding why they're not getting to a certain level, and then looking at the feet and say, hey, it's not you. It's not the trainer. It's your horse. Your horse has flat tires.
Well, it is. I don't know what all went on before I saw the horse. I don't want to get into that. As sore as he was, we chose to get him out of a bind quickly. This is one of those horses that if you had pulled his shoes, said we're doing the barefoot thing, which some people would. He was so sensitive to my thumbs, he'd have probably gone out and laid down for a while. Mm-hmm. And is that what you really want to do?
Yeah. All right, guys, stick around. We'll come back. One more little segment, and we'll let you get back to enjoying the rest of your day. You're listening to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. He'll be right back. You all right?
No, I'm not.
What's wrong?
I'm here.
Oh,
I'm never all right. Didn't you know?
Oh, Mike, I like when you're here.
Yeah, I'm okay.
Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. Don't forget, for every podcast we do, we have a matching video. You can see all those x-rays in real time as we're talking about it here on the show as well. And the way you do that and the way you see that is go over to YouTube, search Equine Dynamics Mike Stine over on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe over there. We also have been putting up these little shorties, little 1-minute videos of all the different other podcasts that we've been doing, all the different episodes, so you can just catch little snippets and stuff, so you can take them in little bite-sized pieces. You can sit there and just watch a couple of videos and then go, okay, I got an idea. If I want to hear the whole story, I'll listen to the whole podcast, which we want you to do. And make sure if you have a question for Mike Stine, you go over to equinedynamics.com. At the top of the page says contacts. Fill that out. Ask us a question. We'll answer it here on the air, and then we'll send you out a prize pack. So make sure you put a return address as well. And over to my far end side, Mr. Worldwide Traveler here is Mike Stine. How are you?
I'm doing okay, Travis. How are you?
Doing well. So you're back now from the International Hoof Care Summit. So what did we learn at the International Hoof Care Summit?
Don't smash your fingers.
I smashed my finger the other day.
Oh, no. That's not it. The International Hoof Care Summit has a series of lectures. They've got some of the top people in the world are there every year. There's demos. There's, for what it offers. Yes, there's a lot of farriers that come to it, but on the other end, the ones that I know that came from, let's pick on North and South Carolina.
Sure.
And I'm not going to say I knew everybody was there or saw everybody was there for certain. But for the farriers out of North and South Carolina that I knew that were there, and say, but there's enough people there you can lose them. I met friends from other countries, Australia, Northern European countries, England. They're from everywhere. But I could pretty much count from North and South Carolina on my fingers.
And we have one of the most densest populations of farriers in the United States.
And so there are a huge amount of education opportunities out there.
And it's open. It's free to anyone that wants to walk in there just to listen.
If you want to buy the ticket.
Oh, how much is the ticket? Like if I just walked in off the street, because you said at the beginning of the program, yeah, you can go in there, Travis. And
well, they'll charge you for listening to the lectures. And there's a charge for, like, you can do a marketplace only if you want.
Oh, okay.
But for the level of education that's there, it's cheap.
Now, the IAPF,
right?
Is that part of their training? Like that does that qualify for continuing education?
Right, it does. And for you to keep your accreditations, this is the one group out there that asks for furthering ed every year. And farriers should be doing furthering ed every year, whether it be because of an association or because they want to keep on the top end of the business or build their way to the top end of the business. You don't get there by not constantly working at it, and things are always changing, and we always got to go further with it.
And for some of our listeners out there who are new to the program, you might not know that this podcast itself has been accepted as a continuing education accreditation through the IAPF as well. So if you listen to this, you go to the website. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly because I'm not part of that.
Don't ask me because I'm so techie. You know how techie I am.
But as long as you listen to the thing through the website, you get also accreditation as well. So do that as well. Also, what did we learn when we went to the South Carolina Horse Expo?
We learned it was a cold, windy day for South Carolina. We had Megan Rackin there doing venograms and x-rays. I did a talk. There was Marty Adams. Remember Marty Adams?
Yeah, good old Marty Adams.
Good old Marty Adams did a thing on nutrition and laminitic horses. And they're talking about in the future doing a day just strictly on lame horses.
Now, is that open to the public as well, or is that strictly more clientele?
That was open to the public. If they do one on lame horses, that will be open to the public. They do charge a ticket price. Now, does anyone videotape this stuff or put it up on the internet to where people can see like the lectures or just anything going on? On that one, no. But, the Hoof Care Summit, some of those lectures you will be able to see through the year. Now, I don't think that you can sign on to them, but I keep a subscription to the journal, and also was at the summit. So some of the lectures will come up through the year where you can pull them up and watch them, because it's impossible to watch them all. And while you were out there at South Carolina, they appreciated the giveaways you had from the Hoof Care or Hoof Doctor or Equine One. Equine One, yes, they certainly did, and I think that was a big hit. Now, and also the 2 case studies of Benji and Nutty, and where are they at today? How are they doing? They're nutty. Yeah, Benji and Nutty's Benji and Nutty. All right. Nutty This is the one that wanted to be a dressage horse with 4 flat tires. 4 flat tires. From what I understood, the next day I'd swing back by the farm. I spent a few days there working. That he came trotting up to the gate, and he never did that. He tiptoed in, tiptoed out. So he's starting to move, and he's happy. And somebody said he actually took off that evening running a buck, and I'm like, well, we may have gotten him happy, but we may have created a bigger problem. And Benji was doing he's got a bigger foot after 17 weeks. He's grown 17 millimeters underneath that coffin bone, so it's not poking out through the bottom, and that serum coming out anymore. No, he's got a substantial amount of foot. We got a little bit more work to do on him yet. And he's a happier lawn ornament now. And he's a very happy lawn ornament. The metabolic problems are being taken care of, and they're going to be watching the grass in the spring and the grass in the fall, and people don't think about the fall grass, but it is a problem. And Dr. Marty gave out weight tapes. Well, good. All right, guys, on that note, make sure you follow Mike Stine over on Facebook. Search Equine Dynamics Mike Stine. Make sure you subscribe to him over on YouTube as well, and you can see us here in the studio and watch all the different x-rays and the videos and everything that we have to offer here on the YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe over there. And if you'd like Mike Stine to perform a clinic, or if you'd like the Equine Dynamics podcast to perform at your location, your business, or event, go over to Equine Dynamics and get all the information over there as well. On behalf of Mike Stine over there, have a good day. Have fun with your ponies. My name's Travis, saying see you next week. I promise this time. You promise? Yeah. Okay. That ran a little long, but that's okay.
Lucky.
We haven't seen each other in 3 weeks.
Good night. Good night, Ned.